Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend, and we had some more good news, and we're lucky enough to have Joe Spillman, the president of the ECA, to kind of give us our second update in a row. So, Joe, can you let us know what happened over last week?
Yes, thank you, Mike. The great news is, to start with, guys, I am sure you've heard, is we did get the Department of Labor got approval to give us the delay. And I think that the fact that the Department of Labor was the one asking for the delay was very good news for us. And frankly, what happened, if you guys remember, was Trump asked the Department of Labor to review the plan for a couple main issues. And one was, what was the economic impact going to be of implementing the rule, and how hard was it going to be for financial clients to get advice from financial advisors after the rule's in force. And the DOL came back and basically did admit that it was not only going to be very challenging for what they called lower level of retirees, meaning smaller accounts, to get good advice, because a lot of people wouldn't work with clients with small accounts after this rule, but also that the rule was going to be very expensive for the overall economy to implement. And the DOL really quickly did start asking for a delay so they could continue to review those two topics that are obviously very important to Trump. And they came back and said that they needed this 60-day delay so they could continue with their review process. A lot of people thought it just ended there with the good news. Our in-house attorney, Mark Ide, who, by the way, if you guys have any questions specific, email over to me and I'll get Mark to give an answer for you guys directly on those questions. He's available for those kind of things. For any of you producers that have those questions, just run them through me if you could, please. But Mark reviewed the whole document. I think it was like 36 pages. And in there, it did highlight, again, some of the implementation rules of what 2017 is to look like. And the good news there is that in 2017, we didn't need to adhere to the best interest contract requirements, the document specifically. So if you guys have been paying attention on this rule, part of it is once the rule is fully implemented, the financial institution that you work with has to sign a document with your client. And that financial institution is required to make sure that you as a producer are following the rules that the DOL requires. That is kind of the challenge, because that document is what holds the financial institutions liable if something goes wrong. And on top of that, the DOL is allowing class action lawsuits to be filed against the financial institutions of the world. So the kind of the fallout from this announcement of this 60-day delay and the conversation about how they're not going to force all of the rules in the BIC this year, where carriers are struggling, is this levelization of commissions. And they're basically all but said in the rule that they're not going to force us to require commissions to be levelized this year. We just have to make sure that the producers are acting in a prudent fashion, meaning that they are trying their best to sell the consumer a product that's in the consumer's best interest, and they do their due diligence to review it. If that product happens to pay a point more commission than some other product out there, as long as you can show why you chose the product you chose, you're going to be okay, and especially in the remainder of this year, because again, there is no best interest contract signed between the financial institution and the client. And that's the document that really shows proof if something was done wrong, or frankly, if something was done right. It's also a document that shows proof there. So I can tell you that the fallout has been, I've talked to probably 6 carriers since the delay was announced and the full document of the delay was announced. And all 6 of those carriers believe that this entire year is going to be business as usual. And I can tell you also that most people in the industry believe that this is really just the first of another bigger delay that's coming. And they believe that it's very likely at this point that with Acosta, who got finally picked to be the Department of Labor head, and he's really on the side of getting rid of overregulation, they believe strongly now that there's a very good chance that this rule just gets turned back entirely, or maybe more likely that the fixed index annuities that we all love would get regulated under a different exemption, which is what's called the 8424 exemption. And the big difference, and we talked about just a little bit on the last call, you still have to act in the consumer's best interest before your own. You still have to have a lot of safeguards to make sure you're doing correct in the Department of Labor's eyes for your client, like showing your work. We talked about that, I think, on the last call. The big difference is you don't have to have a financial institution enter a contractual relationship with your clients. And why that's big is that the financial institutions of the world are scared of taking on all that risk. And because they're taking on all that risk, they're all wanting some of your money because of it, right? They want to cut your commissions. They want to send you through a grid commission payout system so they can get paid for taking on that liability and taking on that supervision. And, you know, in my 18 years doing this, I've worked with so many producers that gave up their Series 6 or Series 7 license because, frankly, they were sick of dealing with a financial institution, i.e. a broker-dealer, that's getting into their business and regulating them and overseeing them and telling them what they can and can't say. So the positive take out of that is if we can, at minimum, get the fixed index put in at 84.24, you as a producer are still stuck to these higher fiduciary standards, which frankly I think most producers love anyway. In reality, they do a good job for their clients anyway. They do look for the best products they can find for their clients. The difference would be is you're stuck doing it yourself instead of having some person in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Eden Prairie, Minnesota, oversee your business and tell you what you can and can't do. You know, we still want to get prepared for, you know, more scrutiny, more regulations, but in my tenure in this business, I've dealt with that every year since I started. Like you know, Mike, back when we first started selling annuities, they were a one-page application and a one-page transfer form, and in some states a one-page replacement form, and that was it. Nowadays, I always have producers joke with me when they sell annuities nowadays, and they say, when did this turn into underwriting like life insurance? I thought we were just selling annuities. So expect, I guess, more of that, more due diligence, more of show your work. And again, I think that the most part, I don't see producers not doing that. I think most producers do a really good job of that. And I can tell you that I know that I work hard at ECA to train my marketers to make sure they're showing the producers all products that are available and why you choose one over a different one. And we do the work now on the back end together with the producer that I think that the Department of Labor or whoever these regulatory oversight people are, that they want to maybe just see that work instead of us just doing it and trusting us. They just kind of want to see what we did. And we're prepared for all of that. As we talked about on the last call, ECA has filed to become a registered investment advisory firm. If we have to be everybody's financial institutions, we're very well prepared to do that. And we think that we're going to be a real good fit for you guys because, frankly, as a FMO first and a financial institution second, we know your business better than a financial institution first would, like a lot of broker dealers, like a lot of RA firms out there. And they are starting to pop up. They're wanting to be your financial institution for a fee. We saw a couple broker dealers last week throw their hat in the ring saying that they'd like to be the financial institution for insurance-only reps. We've seen one particular RIA throw their name in the hat saying they'd like to do it. And of course, there's a lot of other FMOs out there that are already registered investment advisory firms or applying to become them like ECA is, that they're offering to do that service as well. We're planning on doing that service for free for our producers that do business with us. If, of course, a producer would want to use us but not do business with us, then, of course, we'd probably have to charge a fee. But the highlight of the call for me today is I just want to let you know, hey, great news from the DOL. It feels like we got maybe the tide is turning a little bit to our favor. And two, even if it doesn't, ECA with 5Q's help, we're going to build out a very nice system for you guys again that will allow you to show your work. It'll allow you to electronically file your due diligence reports, if that's what you want to call it, and we'll keep copies of that on file forever with you. And because you'd be doing business with ECA Marketing through 5Q, we'd be doing that service for you guys for free if you wanted it. If you'd rather do it yourself, I talked to one gentleman after our phone call last week. Actually, we emailed, and he has his own RIA firm. That would be up to him. If he wanted to do it himself, he could. And it appeared to me that he'd rather not do it himself. He'd rather use us to do it, especially if it's free. And I would say, well, why wouldn't you use us if it's free to him? And we are very happy to do that and offer that service. So going forward, it looks really good, guys. Specifically this year, I think we're safe. It's going to be business as usual, most likely until January 18th, for sure until June 9th is the date that it's backed up to right now.
Coolio. Well, I appreciate you giving us the heads up, Joe, and then also the fact that you were preemptive and hired your attorney there to keep us on track of all that stuff. So I really appreciate it. And then we'll have Joe back on. If there's a huge change here, like maybe in June or whatever, then we'll have Joe back on just to give us a quick update. So any questions for Joe before he leaves? You apparently did a great job.
Mike, just a quick reminder to everyone, if you have any questions for me, email is the best way to reach me. It's just joe@ecamarketing.com.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
appreciate
Mike.
it.
Yep, bye-bye.
All righty. Have a good one. Bye. Okay, so that's great news for us, guys, and ECA is going to be prepared. It's going to continue to prepare regardless. That if it does come to fruition, we'll be prepared. If it doesn't, we'll still be prepared for anything that they could throw at us in the future. So I appreciate you spending some time to listen to Joe there. So last week's Moneymaker, there's a new platform that helps advisors help their clients with their estate planning needs called Everplan. And so they actually are a new plan out there. But the problem is guess what? Costs a lot more money, and they're going to start to market to your clients as well. So you basically lose control of your clients, and it costs a lot more. So there's other entities out there, whoever you want to use for your electronically filing, you're free to use that. We just like DocuBank because they've worked with us for the last 10 years, and they've worked extremely well. We were going to have an advisor talk to us about his success with DocuBank, and I think we're just going to have him do that next week. So 5Q breakdown, here's how you should start a 21-point checklist meeting with a few pointers on how it could have been made perfect. So make sure you're listening and paying attention to those things. And I had an advisor who is new to the system, was wondering, well, how can I get started with the 15-minute, most important 15 minutes a day, which is your practicing your GOTS. Well, on the website we have in the archives, or under 15-minute breakdown, we actually have all these 5Q breakdowns in there. So I think we have like 15, 20 of them already. You can actually use those for your GOTS practice that you should be doing for 15 minutes every day as well. So I just want to kind of revisit something we've talked about here and there, and that is, when you die, what happens to your online data? Well, Dave, thank you very much for doing those 15 minutes every day. So what happens to your boy, you know what, after you go on vacation, it's hard to get your brain back into gear here. So what happens to all of your electronic, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Snapchat, all that stuff when you die? Well, many people think, well, if I keep a data sheet with all of my usernames and all my passwords, I'm golden. Are you? Are you golden if you die and you have all your passwords here? Are you golden? Is that going to help your loved ones? Kind of a trick question. See, ethical hacking, illegal types of hackers. There's two types of hackers. There's the bad guys and there's the good guys. And here's what I mean by that. If Missy comes in here and as a favor to me, starts working with my LinkedIn, or starts working with my Facebook, or starts working with my Snapchat, is she breaking the law? I'll ask you that question. Even though I've asked her to do it, is she breaking the law? We're getting a lot of yeses. That's right. That's this. Yes, you cannot deal with somebody else's online material, even if they ask you to. So when you die, even though you have all those, usernames and passwords, can you legally go in and fiddle with those accounts for that person who's deceased? Do you know the biggest lie in America, Senator? It's, yes, I've read the terms of service. If you read the terms of service, guess what most of these online entities say? That you and you alone are allowed to use or to change everything on there. Now, there's the uniform. Let me see if I can get this right. I'll have to actually look up the actual name of this doggone thing. If I can get it right here. I can't even get it right. So, but it's a law that's out there, but it's not a federal law. It's a state law that actually now makes it okay for the executor of an estate to go in and modify the online data, digital footprint of somebody who's deceased. So even if it says in the terms of service that you're not allowed to do that, this new law, it's a uniform law that it's state by state, so it's not a federal law, it's a state by state law that will allow executors of the estate to change those digital laws. So here's the blue, in the blue, they've already enacted this uniform. So in all these blue states here, and this is up to date as of 2017, March 29th, 2017, all the blue states allow, so if you can find your state on there, allow the executor of an estate to go in and modify somebody's digital data or digital footprint. In the green, they're introducing that law this year. In the white, they haven't done anything with it yet. So is this something, no, would a POA allow you to do that? No, a POA does not allow you to do that. It's against the law to be dealing with somebody else's account unless they've passed these laws and you're executor of the estate, okay? So how can you use this in a 21-point checklist, in a 21-point checklist meeting? So John asked, did we update this in the Survivor's Guide to record digital information? No, but I think that would be a good thing that Missy and Tricia, if we can kind of put that on our long to-do list to visit doing it. But even if we don't have it in the Survivor's Guide, it'd be easy to add an addendum to that. But certainly we should be what? Discussing. That's right, Gene. It's a good question to ask. How many people do you think have considered this? How many people do you think have considered this? How many people do you think know that it's against the law for somebody else to be dealing with their Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, or whatever it may be? So just the fact that you would bring that up, that that's against the law for somebody to do that and they can get in trouble for doing that, does that add, is that a hey, that's good information, or is that an emotional issue? Is that good, hey, that's a good idea, or is that an emotional issue? It's an emotional issue. They don't want to get their loved ones in trouble by breaking the law. So this is a great question to ask. Have you dealt with this law, or with how you're going to deal with your digital footprint? Okay. Now, just so you know, in the estate planning section of the 21, you make sure they've created a master list of accounts. So yes, we could actually add an addendum onto the Survivor's Guide, and we'll look at that as a good idea, John. So that's the first thing. Now, that should be stored both digitally and physically. So that would be a good thing to put in your DocuBank if you so chose, and to have where all your important papers are. Now, the state who you give the right to access your accounts when RUFADA is passed in your state, if not already passed. Now, here's what you should know. If there are two instructions, that is both in the will and via online, so for example, Facebook has dealt with this. Facebook does allow you to appoint somebody. There's a tool on there to appoint somebody to handle your Facebook when you pass away. So if you appoint somebody in your will and then you appoint somebody online, the online tool, whoever you name on the online tool, takes precedence. Again, are these things that are general? I didn't know this. Do you think, how many people do you think know this kind of thing? And what does it say about you when you bring this stuff up with the client? What does it say about you when you bring this stuff up with the client? What does it make their current advisor look like? Up to date, or just a money-grubbing fool? That we care, but so that we care, absolutely. And it's also framing us as a what? Without us telling them, it frames us as a what? Yes, an authority, Jeff, an authority on non-financial issues. That we're staying on date of the most current things that are occurring out there. And RUF does, this is the RUFADA, or whatever you want us to call it. This is the most current topic when it comes to your digital footprint. Make sense? So please use this in the 21-point checklist by asking this question. What are you doing and I'm going to throw this at you, Missy, so you can help me figure out what the heck the acronym is to what RFUDA stands for. But
yeah, it's actually, I found it. It's actually called the
okay.
Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act. Very long.
Do that one more time.
The Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act.
Okay, so that's something to bring up to your clients, and again, it's an emotional issue because they don't want to get their loved ones in trouble or break law. And again, think about this, guys. This is another great thing. Do people like to look smarter than their friends and relatives? So let me get some answers to that. Do people like to look smarter than their friends and relatives? Yeah, Jeff, they do. Jeannie, yes. So would this be something that they'd like to bring up over a beer or over coffee with them? Yeah, this is something that they'd like to show up that they know more than their friends, neighbors, or relatives. So, and hey, they might even share it on Facebook. If they shared this information on Facebook and that you brought this attention to them, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? It'd be a good thing. Again, it's showing that you know more than all the other advisors out there. Does that make sense? Good. So now let's get on with fun stuff. And again, you guys said you like doing tape reviews, so we're going to do this once a month. So we're going to listen to a couple of different things. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to listen to this person's power of attorney, okay? So this advisor's power of attorney. So we're going to listen to it, and it's about a minute long. So what would be the problem with that, guys? What's the problem with power of attorney being about a minute long? Yeah, Mike. Too short by how much? By a lot. So let's listen to what happens here. So here we go.
Every couple of years is what we're finding, and I told you.
So he's just finishing with the will, and he's saying you should get that renotarized every couple of years. What's wrong with saying that at the will, guys? Advice. What's the matter, Mark? You're right. Advice. Well, yeah, telling, yes, but what's also wrong? What's wrong with giving advice or telling that it needs to be updated every 2 years at this meeting, at the 21-point checklist meeting, guys? What's wrong with that? That's right, Mark. You've just given them what? What have you just given them? The solution, Kyle, right. You've given them the solution. Is that what we're supposed to be doing at the 21-point checklist? We're supposed to be doing what? Telling them the problem and having them tell us the problem and having them tell us the consequence. If you tell them the solution, what can they do? Fix it. Yeah, that's right, Jeff. When they come on board, we're going to take care of this for you. So it's about them discovering there's a problem, them discovering the consequence, but don't give them the solution, okay? So that was just the tail end of the will. So here we go.
The attorney that I work with here, Dave actually comes back and has an update, an automatic update to everything once a year.
This is a huge pet peeve of mine. When you guys want to promote your attorney or your accountant, should you be promoting your attorney or accountant? Dave says no. Jonathan says no. Okay, John says no. Why? Why should we not be promoting our attorney or our accountant? That's right. They go wherever they want, Jeff. They go wherever they want. It's up to them. Because if it sounds like you're pushing your attorney, and I know you think you're being helpful, but to them it sounds like what? It sounds like you're going to get some sort of kickback from the attorney or kickback from the accountant to work with them. So, guys, do you get paid? Are the attorneys paying you or the accountants paying you to recommend them? No. So why the heck are you shooting yourself in the foot by pushing them? And I hear this over and over and over. Stop doing that. Okay? And besides that, who do we recommend for attorneys? Who do we recommend for attorneys? I recommend LegalZoom. Why? Now, unless you have an attorney that's referring to you on a regular basis, like a real regular basis, not once a year, but like 2, 3 a month, unless you have an attorney that's doing that, I'm not going to refer to them. Why? LegalZoom, first of all, is going to be 10 cents on the dollar for basically the same document that the attorneys are going to give. Second of all, where do attorneys get their clients from? Where do attorneys get their clients from? Advisors. So if you refer back to the attorney and they start to see all the things you're doing with the power of attorney and everything else we do, guess what they're going to do with that information? They're going to give that information with the other advisors they work with. So now you're educating your competition. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. So first of all, you're shooting yourself in the foot by recommending accountants and attorneys anyways. And now if a client asks you for a referral, yeah, do it. But don't refer to accountants or attorneys because it sounds like you're pushing. Now, when I recommend LegalZoom, I do recommend LegalZoom. Why can I recommend LegalZoom over an accountant or, I'm sorry, over an attorney? Why does that work in my favor when I recommend LegalZoom? Guys, how much does it cost? Cheap and no kickback. That's right, Arthur. Cheap and no kickback. That's right, Bonnie. It's cheap. So when I'm showing them how to save $200, $300, $400, is that a good thing or a bad thing in their minds? It's a good thing. And LegalZoom, they have attorneys there that will help them. Okay. So here we go.
Just to be on the safe side. Now, in your case, Tom, you want your money to go where?
So remember, guys, he's doing the power of attorney now. What does it sound like he's doing? What's it sound like he's doing? The bennies, right, Mark? He's getting the scripts mixed up. So does this guy have a mastery of the scripts, or is he all over the place? He's not following the script. He's asking, where does your money go? Does that have, when you say where does your money go, is that a specific question or an unbelievably vague question? Don't ask vague questions. It confuses the hell out of a client. I'm going to back up here again.
Finding and I told you about the attorney that I work with here. Dave actually comes back and has an update, an automatic update to everything once a year. Just to be on the safe side. Now, in your case, Tom, you want your money to go where? If something happens to you, where does your money go?
To the kids.
Okay.
And first you had went to me, then something.
Right, to you and then to the kids.
Okay. And that's pretty normal. You know, if something happens to you, it goes to him. If something happens to you, Tom, it goes to you, Jill.
So, guys, do you see that he's doing the beneficiary script? And he's doing that poorly. But does that have anything to do with the POA? So when you start mixing these scripts up, guess what's going to happen to you and the client? You shouldn't know these scripts until you get it right. You should know them until you can't get them wrong. And he's really effing up here, and you see how it happens.
And that's how Cindy and I have our stuff, too. So accessibility to the money between spouses is not so much a problem. Where this kicks in is if something happened to both of you simultaneously. And, you know, we need to be protecting against that. In your particular case, because you don't have a power of attorney, nobody can get access to your money. If something happened to you jointly, nobody can get access to your money. Is that a problem?
That's a problem.
That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. So that's why this is important. So Jill, in your case, it needs to be updated. Tom, in your case, we need to get one.
Get one. Right.
Okay. Medical power of attorney.
So how did he do on the POA? Not weak. How did he do on the POA? Terrible, horrible. I'd go along with those answers, absolutely. Not only did it not get him anything with the power of attorney, it confused the hell out of the people. And is he telling, preaching, and teaching? He's all about doing what? What's he doing here as the advisor? What's he doing? Telling, preaching, and teaching. And why is he doing telling, preaching, and teaching? Why? Why do you think he's telling, preaching, and teaching? Yes, to show how smart he is, Arthur. That's exactly right. To show how smart he is. I'm Mr. How does that work with boomers? How does showing how smart you are work with boomers? Badly, right, Jeff? They boomers don't like, as boomers, we love to knock somebody off a pedestal. We're looking at, when somebody acts smart, we're looking for a way to cut them out at the knees. That's just the way we are. Okay, so power of attorney, I would grade that as an F, an F. Learn the script, guys. Okay, now I'm going to jump up and we're going to listen to the VA. So the rest of them, we're going to spend time listening to the variable annuity script. So here we go.
And let me ask you a question. Do you need additional life insurance at this point, would you say?
Is that the way we start the variable annuity? Absolutely it is. So you started out great here.
No. Do you want any additional life insurance?
Yeah, I was always
I don't know. I don't know if it's a sort of a maybe.
until you my dad was the Spanish accountant, so his whole thing was you have life insurance until your assets are big enough that your assets replace what you needed in life insurance, and then you don't need life insurance.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. So
she just made his point for him. So what do you do when somebody makes your point for you? GOTS. And which of the GOTS do we use? The agree, parrot, or empower? Empower, exactly.
Are you at that point now, would you say?
Well, I know I am.
I'd say I could probably, that's what I was saying, I could probably use a little more if might benefit me more than what her, because she's got more.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you're kind of at a point where you need none or just a little bit.
Right.
So the nice thing he's doing here is when the guy said, I need some more life insurance, did his eyes light up and he jump on and say, let's write you up on some life insurance? Or is he being calm and just kind of working through this on a natural basis? Yeah, he's being calm and working through a natural basis. So he's doing a good job there. So far, good and good.
Okay. And here's...
But I will make a point here. So the VA, does he seem to have a better handle on the variable annuity as it does with the power of attorney? Yeah, so far. So here's a funny thing, Jeff Freeberg. Do advisors normally do better on the non-financial or the financial?
They generally do better on the financial.
And why?
I think it's just they're more familiar with it, they're more comfortable with it, and they use it as sort of an attack on the other guy.
Yeah, because here's the thing. They believe they're going to get the deal the way they've gotten it forever and ever and ever, which is what? Attack on the financial, attack on the financial. Guys, that's not how you get the deal. Because I used to be awesome at attacking on the financial when I was making $50,000 a year. You get the permission to attack on the financial by doing the non-financial first very, very well for 40-plus minutes. Because then by the time you get to the financial, they don't look at it, yeah, of course you're saying that about the financial. All you want to do is me move money to you, and you can do the same thing to me. Instead, if you do great on the non-financial first and you spend 40 minutes doing it well, by the time you get to the financial, they're not saying, oh, I know why you're doing this. Instead, they say, hey, this is one more thing they're helping me with. Okay, so this is a great indication that he spent how much time on the variable annuity script versus the power of attorney script. He spent way more time on the variable annuity script than the power of attorney script. Now, he does make some mistakes, but so far, so good.
That's kind of why I bring this up. I did some analysis of...
Let me stop.
Yeah,
I mean, you would have life insurance to protect me or your kids. I already have enough money. I don't need life insurance. So I would say...
No.
Right.
No for you, maybe for you.
I would say he doesn't.
She's saying no for me because if I die, she's saying she's already got enough, she don't need it.
Okay.
But if I had more to give to the kids, would be better, is what I would say.
Yeah.
It's not that you need it, might not.
Okay. Okay. So maybe right now we don't need any. If we do need some, it's a little bit.
Right.
Fair enough. So we have these variable annuities, and the reason that I bring up the insurance.
Okay, what did he just forget to do here? What did he forget to do? Yeah, sugar, Dave. Why do we have to talk about Are you the kind of folks that like things sugar-coated, or are you things like the people that like things straight? You have to do that. So far he did the, and actually we have to adjust this, Missy. Should be life insurance first and then sugar-coated. And I may have this wrong. It's an old copy. I think I have an old copy here. But so we have to ask them, are they the kind of people like things sugar-coated, or they like things straight? Why? Because we're about to show the guy stealing from him. So we assume as advisors that they're coming to my office, so of course they want this information. Of course they want my advice. Of course they want me to show them what they're doing well and what they're doing poorly. Guys, nobody wants to be shown what they're doing poorly. Everybody wants to be shown what they're doing right. So I need to get their permission to show them what they're doing poorly first. It's like if I go to my neighbor and say, hey, what do you think of my lawn? How do you think my lawn's looking? He goes, yeah, I'm glad you asked, because the whole neighborhood's talking about it. I mean, you know, do you ever pick your dog's poop up? Because it's leaving those nasty green blotches all over. And geez, when did you last feed it? And blah, 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 blah. He starts hammering on me. What am I going to do? Be happy or be defensive about that? I'm going to be defensive. But he's thinking, well, you asked my opinion, so I'm going to give it to you. So instead, what's going to happen is if I say, hey, what do you think about my lawn? If he's a smart neighbor and he wants to criticize me, he's going to say, well, do you like things sugar-coated or do you like things straight? See, what he's prepping me for, what's he prepping me for when he asks that? What's he prepping me for? See, when I'm asking, hey, what do you think of my lawn, I think he's going to give me great news. He's going to tell me how great my lawn is. But if he's going to give me bad news, he's prepping me for that so I can say, well, you know what, maybe I'm going to rescind that question. You know what, I've had a bad day at work. I don't need any more bad news, so maybe I'll ask you that later. But even if I say, yeah, hit me with the bad news, at least I'm prepped for it. I'm steeled for it. I mean, it's a difference between me walking up to Jeff and just socking him in the stomach with no preparation. What's going to happen to Jeff? I mean, that could cause internal bleeding. But if Jeff knows I'm going to be socking him and he girds his stomach, I can hit him and it won't hurt him as much because he can gird himself. And that's what we're asking of this sugar-coated or straight. So you got to ask that question. Do not skip that question. So right before you get into the financial, where they're going to see evidence that the guy's actually stealing from them, you got to ask, do you like things sugar-coated? Do you like things straight? Okay? So here we go.
This question is, I did some analysis, and as I do the analysis, and I can go anywhere to kind of get information. I could go to Merrill Lynch. I could go to, John Hancock. Why would I not go to them? Any ideas why I wouldn't?
Because they're biased toward their products.
They have an axe to grind, don't they? You know, they're selling products.
Okay, so he's doing a great job on the third party, or he's doing a passable job on third party. What did he forget to do? What did he forget to do? Guys, so do you see my VA sheet up here? What did he forget to do? He's doing the Morningstar. He's doing the third party. He's working on that. What did he forget to do? We talked about sugar-coated. He forgot to do that. Did he ask about life insurance? Yeah, he did that. Yes, Tony. That's right, Jonathan. Okay, Timothy's got it. So he's got to have them tell him why the variable annuity is good. Why do we need to do? If you notice on every single one of our scripts, do we ask, hey, why is the power of attorney good? Do we ask, hey, why is joint with rights to survivor good? Hey, do we ask, why is it good to have to have your spouse as the beneficiary and your kids equally? Why do we always start out with good? Yeah, because if everything's bad, Dave, they're going to get defensive. It sounds like you have a bone to pick. But instead, we're just walking. There's lots of reasons that we start out with good. First of all, it shows that you're balanced. Second of all, it's giving them an idea that what they're doing is, a lot of what they're doing is good. It shows you as a balanced advisor. It shows that it gets them to listen to you, because when you hear good things, you tend to listen more carefully than if all you're doing is getting criticized all the time. Because if all you're doing is being criticized all the time, what happens to your listening skills? Turns off. It prevents them from getting defensive. So there's all sorts of reasons. We always start out, if you look at any one of the scripts, we're always starting out with why that particular thing is good. Why is being diversified good? Why is it good to be have some of our money in growth and some of it in guaranteed. Why? I mean, we always start with good, 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 and he didn't do that here. He jumped right into the third party. Do not skip the why the things are good. There's lots of reasons we do that.
And they could skew the information. So I go to a...
Oh, so then he started out good with the, I'll have to back it up a bit. He started out good with the third party, but then what did he do? Where was his mistake there, guys? Play it again.
I could go to, you know, John Hancock. Why would I not go to them? Any ideas why I wouldn't?
Because they're biased toward their products.
They have an axe to grind on.
That was a good question, but let's see how he finishes it.
You know, they're selling products, and
So he said they have an axe to grind.
they could skew the information. So I go to a third-party reporting firm called Morningstar. You heard of Morningstar? All Morningstar does is gather information, compile it, and report it. That's their only service. That's their only product that they sell. And so I went to Morningstar, and I started to look up.
Did he get their buy-in to Morningstar as a great resource and it's totally unbiased? See, the reason we have that in there is because if you don't do that, guess what they can say at the end of the VA? If you don't get their buy-in that Morningstar is unbiased and we should believe them up front, guess what they can say at the end or think at the end? What can they think or say at the end? There's a purpose that I put that in there. Because if you don't do that up front, at the end, guess what they can say about all the information you just gave them? They don't believe Morningstar, Jonathan, right? They'll say that at the end because, you know, you've just shown them how their guy is stealing from them. They'll tell you they don't believe in Morningstar. So you had to tell them, get them to say up front that they believe in Morningstar. So at the end, they can't say they don't believe in Morningstar. But he did this by doing what? Telling someone presentation or get the client to say it? He's assuming that they're on board. Do we have any clue that they're on board with Morningstar at this point? Do we have any clue? No, we don't.
Your annuity contracts. And let's just, hold on. This happens to be, you know what, I'm not going to use, let's use this one.
He's trying to go through the Morningstar report.
Extra credit plan.
Guys, be more prepared than this guy. Do you want to be fumbling around for a minute or two trying to figure out where you are with Morningstar? How skilled should you be at this? Very skilled. Because is this you got to be more skilled than this.
I did this stuff, and you can look at it later on. But basically, here's what Morningstar's analysis shows us. You see right up here, it has M&E charge. Do you know what M&E is?
So what did he skip here, guys? Now what did he skip? Talking about M&E charges, number 7 here. What did he skip? See, fund expenses, you're right. Because here's the thing, guys, look at. First of all, have them tell us why variable annuity is good. Then I have them tell me why third party is good. Then I have them tell me why fund expenses is good. Why it's good to have somebody, you pay somebody to manage your funds for you, and why that's an okay thing. Good, good, good. Again, that gives us the appearance of being balanced, which we are. It gives them the ability to not be defensive, which is good. Good, good, good. And what did he do with all the good? See, he's on a mission. What's he on a mission to do? What's he on a mission to do? Kill the VA. And guess how easy that is going to be for the client to figure out that all he wants to do is kill the VA. You got to do the good, good, good. Okay?
Management exchange.
It's called mortality and expense. And it essentially is insurance. It's an insurance policy. One of the nice things about having the variable annuity is it's actually got a number of benefits, doesn't it? Do you know what some of the benefits, do you remember what some of the benefits were when they told you about it?
So again, guys, if you do this stuff out of order, guess what can happen? If you tell a joke out of order, what can happen to that joke? Confusion, falls apart, right, Mike? So, second of all, he's asking, do they have any clue? Hey, you know, what's good about a variable annuity? What's he going to get with that kind of a question, guys? Deer in the headlight. They're like, follow the script. You don't get that kind of. So Jeff, well, you know, when you talk to somebody and they say, you know, it's really hard. I got a lot of, you know, the client wasn't talking. That got a lot of the deer in the headlights. What are some of the things that can cause that, Jeff?
Generally, it's one, I've heard, usually if they don't talk, it's because you're doing all the talking. So you ask questions, but you answer your own questions. Deer in the headlights, you're asking questions that are too big, too confusing. They're looking for clues for what the answers are, and they have no clue. You're not giving them enough background. So it's always you. It's never them.
So what will happen if you ask a vague question, they don't know the answer? What happens to their willingness to answer questions going forward?
Oh, they don't want to do it. They don't want to feel stupid, so they don't know the answer. So eventually what they'll say is something like, just tell me. Just tell me what you're thinking. What are you getting at?
Signs of irritation. So here we go.
Well, I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed your principal, not to lose your principal. It's got, if you die or something's got a death benefit, you get more money after, I don't know, the death enhancement thing. I mean, every so many years, if the interest rate goes up, you can lock in a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
Yeah. Let me, in your, the bulk of what you.
How smart is this lady? How smart is this lady? She's on it, right, Timothy? She's very smart. Did he give her any credit for that, or did he just move on to the next thing? Dudes. So first of all, we're finding that he's not following the script. He's doing more telling, selling, preaching, teaching than he should be. He's not gotzing when he should be. Also, she said things in there that are going to help him or hurt him with this script. Never ask a question that you don't know how they're going to answer. Never ask a question that you don't know how they're going to answer. No, she said things in there that are not going to help. She said things that are not going to help. Now that she said them, I have to pat her on the back. I have to tell her she's great. But when you ask questions that don't, so Jeff, if an attorney asks a question and he doesn't know how the client is going to ask, how long is that attorney, or how often is that attorney going to win?
Not very often. This is something I hear a lot. So I'll give you an example. She said, he asked, what's the great, if you think about it, the whole time they've been talking about this insurance expense providing a death benefit when you die. It's life insurance in effect. And so then he asked, what's the great thing about variable annuities? Well, she's searching for a clue for what the right answer would be. Oh, it must be what we just talked about. You get this great death benefit when you die. I hear it a lot in Power of Attorney. You'll say, what's better? You got to have growth in your portfolio, but you also need access, because if you can't get to your money, is it any good? No. So we have to have growth, but we also have to have access, right? Yeah. I mean, you want both, but it's for sure you want to have what? Well, we want to have access, right? So what's my job? What's the job of an advisor? Oh, to make sure you have access. Nuts! I wanted him to say to make sure you have growth. But it's so predictable that they would answer that way, because the whole time before you asked it, you were talking about access. Of course they're going to say, oh yeah, sure, that must be your job, to make sure that doesn't happen. We've just been talking about this death benefit, so what's the great thing about it? Must be that death benefit, I guess. You're shooting yourself in the foot by doing it wrong.
So now they've got, that's right. So now you have to say, well, that death benefit you thought was great, that's bad. So now she's going to have egg on her face. See, if you have her explain to you why, before she says the death benefit is good, if she explains to you why the death benefit is bad and that she didn't want one to begin with and all that stuff, then it's cool. But now she said the death benefit is good, and you're going to have to what? She's already said the death benefit is good. Now she's going to have to admit what? That she was what? Wrong. Or if instead, if he followed the script, she would never have said the death benefit is good. She's just going to be able to say that the death benefit is bad, unnecessary, expensive, it's taxable, and she won't ever have to have said she's wrong. But now she's going to have to say that she was wrong. Guys, you know, if I think an answer, if I think I don't know, I think that I think that the Twins won the World Series last year instead of the Cubs. And if I say I think the Twins won, and you say no, the Cubs won, now what you're going to do? If I really believe that, I'm going to do what? I'm going to fight, because I have to admit that I'm wrong. I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. Or if instead I don't know who, if I keep my mouth shut and you say the Cubs won the World Series, I'm going to say, yeah, the Cubs did win the World Series, because I can then get on your side, because I don't have to admit, it's easier for me to get on your side about the Cubs winning, because I'm not defending a position. That's right, Tom. I'm not defending a position. I was able to not have to save face because I didn't say the wrong thing to begin with. So again, because he's not following the script, he's planting landmines that are blowing up on him. So here we go.
You guys have is the Jackson. You had 200 and some in yours. You had 200 and some in yours. So let's use that Jackson one just as kind of a point of reference. And what the Jackson, that's the perspective program. What Jackson says is, with a variable annuity in general, and Jackson in particular, said, if you put $200,000 in, we guarantee that you will pull $200,000 out, right? Mm-hmm. Now,
so again, is this vague or is this specific? If you put $200,000 in, you get $200,000 out. What are we talking about here, guys? What's the necessary thing or characteristic of that he's missing here? That $200,000 in and $200,000 out. What has to happen to make sure that $200,000 comes out? Yes, you have to die. Is that an important or is that a tiny detail? It's a huge detail. So again, guys, he's a lot more familiar with, is he more familiar with the VA or the power of attorney? The VA. But still, how well is he doing on the VA? F on the POA, guess what I'm going to give him on a D? That's right, Dave. I'd give him a D on the VA. So an F on the POA and a D on the VA. So this is the kind of guy, Jeff, that would come to you and say, Jeff, I did everything right. I did the 21 right. I did all 21 topics, and they didn't move. Your system sucks, Jeff. What would you say to him?
Well, here's what I would say is, one, it's not our system. It's theirs. It's the client. They told you how you had to do it for them not to be confused. They told you how you have to do it for them to have that epiphany that, hey, this is life insurance that I didn't want. And if you want to do it a different way than they tell you, well, then you're not doing it right. So
do you guys all get what Jeff means by they told us? They've told you how they want to be talked to. They told you how they want to discover this stuff. They've told you how they wanted to be understand why VAs are bad or powers of attorney are the advisor's responsibility. What does he mean when he says the clients told us this? Do you guys remember back at the training when Jeff showed you the Groundhog Day movie clip where Bill Murray comes in and he says one thing to Andy McDowell and it screws up? Then he learns what he needs to say for that part of the conversation, and then he goes back, and that one part of the conversation works well, but then the next one follows up. He learns from that one, so the next time he talks to her, he gets 2 things right, and then he gets a 3rd thing followed up. Then the next time he talks to her, he gets the 3 things right. Do you see what? That's how this system was built. The clients told us exactly what questions we need to ask for them to discover that their advisor is, first of all, disappointing them, is second of all, irritating them, and in the end, is making them irate because they've been disrespected. They've told us how to do it. You have the golden key to the ATM, taking money out anytime you want. But if instead you go to the ATM with a screwdriver, is this guy using the golden key or a screwdriver on that ATM or a hammer on the ATM? Guys, why are you doing it the hard way? Why are you using a screwdriver or a hammer on the ATM to get the money out? Well, guess how quickly you can get the money out with a golden key? So thank you to all of you. Do you get an idea now why the time and effort you guys have all been putting into learning these scripts? And I've had so much feedback in the last month from so many guys that the light bulbs are popping off, pop, 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 pop. They get why the scripts are designed the way they are. They get why we do it the way we do it. I mean, everything's, when they're doing the tutorials, it's all starting to come together. So I'm so excited about the rest of the year for you guys that have been learning the tutorials, because you're going to start to see that by doing the tutorials, it's like the client has the script. Okay? So don't get F's and D's on your paper. Let's get A's and B's on your 21-point checklist. Make sense? You guys have a great rest of the week, and we will talk to you next Monday. Thanks, everybody.